Dude, it's a crazy time for you guys. Your new album comes out in just a couple weeks. Dude, What the Dead Man Say, I've listened to it a couple times, and oh my God, so good, dude. I mean, how does it feel?
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I mean, how does it feel? You guys have been sitting on this record. It's been done. How does it feel? This has got to be a fun time for you guys with the album cycles. You're finally getting to where it's about to release. This has to be like the toughest part of it. It's close.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the hard part. You know, once you finish the record and you get it all mixed and you can kind of live with it for a little bit.
Right.
You know, waiting for it to come out to people. It's definitely kind of a hurry up and wait type vibe. And I'm glad we got the music ready and out so that, you know, even though we won't be touring probably for a little bit, at least people will have some new music to listen to and think about while we wait for this to blow over eventually.
Yeah, who knows when that's going to happen, man. Like, you took 3 years in between, you know, Dead Men and Sin and Sentence. Normally it's usually like a 2-year wait. Back in the day, it was like a record every year for a minute there. But this has been 3 years. Was that just organic, or did you guys want to take a little bit more time to get this one polished?
Yeah, I mean, we started writing it back, I want to say in April of last year, so we didn't take a ton of time.
Gotcha.
You know, with writing it. I feel like a lot of times, like when we start writing stuff, it's not a long time between that and when we record. We like to kind of keep things moving quick. But, you know, we just had a lot of touring to do for the last record.
Yeah.
The popularity of it with fans definitely kept us out on the road, and that's usually how things are kind of dictated. So it'd be very interesting to see with this record coming out and not having the ability to tour for a bit, how that plays out. But, you know, I think it's a strong record, so the music's going to have to do all the heavy lifting for promo for us this time.
What was it like working with Josh again? It's been a while since you worked with the same producer twice in a row. It's been a very long time since you did that. Why bring Josh back for album number 2? And what was it like working? Because, you know, you guys are gelling a lot more the second time around.
Yeah, I mean, our history with him starts on the mix of Silence in the Snow. That's where we, you know, first started working with him, and when I actually met him. We had met him before in the past, but like the first time I met him when he was working on something for us, and you know, I just think his vibe and his the way he works with bands just fit really well with us. And when we got to actually do the full project with him last time, you know, there was no doubt we were going to use him again. And, you know, he definitely coming into this, it was just kind of like where we left off in the last record, very comfortable to work with him. And for us, it's like, you know, we do a lot of our work at our warehouse when we, like, work on the music on our own. And it's nice to come in with someone who kind of just gets what we're doing right away. And I think, like, there's producers and people that have like a certain style to what they do, and they put that on to the bands they work with, which I think, you know, it does work sometimes. But I feel like with Josh, he's kind of a guy that like adjusts to the bands he's working with. So like when he's working with Lamb of God or when he's working with us, like he knows the workflow of like each band is different, and he goes with what those bands are doing, you know. And of course, with recording, he's just really, I mean, I think he's a master at engineering and mixing, and, you know, he knows so much that for just get in there and we're working right away. It's like effortless.
Yeah, and it's really shown through. One song that I absolutely love is Bleed Into Me. And I'm sure, absolutely, man. And I'm sure as the bass player, you kind of like that song a little bit there too, because that, dude, you are showcased so much on that song. How much fun was that song to kind of put together and I guess play?
Well, when I started writing it, that was one of the songs, like, you know, every album I feel like I'll write a song and I'll start off with probably the bass, you know, and you know, I write guitar as well, so like usually I'll start with guitar just because I think we're a guitar-oriented band, so like riff-wise kind of makes sense. But it is nice to like break it up and like start with bass. And I feel like with that song, because it's in like a lower tuning and it's more of like big open type thing, it just, the song was written much differently. Like, I pretty much came up with the bass part first, and I kind of just based the entire song structure on the bass part, where it's like, you know, the guitars are playing off of it at one point, but then it all comes together and plays like the riff, you know, like matching up. And it, you know, for me, it's like I'm playing the same part pretty much 80% of the song. It's kind of this like looping bass part, but everything around it is kind of shifting and playing its own thing. So that was kind of a fun way to like write it and change it up.
Yeah.
So that like, you know, there's kind of a different, some different vibes on the record, and definitely one of the more like vibey type songs, big and open, and I can't wait to play that one live. I think it's going to sound really big.
I was hoping you'd say that. I want to see that live so bad, man. So you wrote a lot of this record. I mean, when you're that involved and you're the main writer, are you that much more critical of the final product when it's done and when it is finished? I mean, how does that affect you?
I mean, you know, like pretty much like this record was pretty evenly written in terms of like who brought in what music.
Gotcha.
Like, we kind of were like, you know, everyone bring in your 3 best song like riff ideas and stuff, and so like everyone kind of brought in the best of what we were writing. But you know, when it kind of comes down to it, once we get into the rehearsal room, I feel like, you know, whoever brought it in, it's kind of like it just becomes a Trivium song because everyone's really like putting their influence into it. Even if they're not playing riffs maybe differently, I do feel like the way the songs kind of go, you know, are determined by how we're feeling in the rehearsal room playing it, you know, because what you do on your computer is like one thing, and you know, the bedroom demos are great and they sound awesome. You know, now with like computers and stuff, you can make everything sound like a studio record.
Yeah.
But like when you get into the rehearsal room, you know, you actually start feeling how things are like fitting together, and you start putting vocals and lyrics in. It, you know, it really just becomes like a full band process. And you know, once we get to the end, I mean, it's just, that's why on the record it just says written by Trivium. Like, we don't really put it down like,
makes sense.
You know, this is this person's song. I feel like we've kind of like just, we don't think of it like that, so we just kind of like put it out there like that. It's like, you know, it's a Trivium song at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. Dude, I'm a sucker for a good intro on a record, because for one, if a record has a good intro, chances are that's probably good. A lot of times that's what the bands come out to live and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of half and half with you guys and intros. Sometimes you do them, sometimes you don't. And this one, I feel like this record has the best intro you guys have done really since In Waves. I could just like close my eyes. Like I can picture that at like a Sonic Temple or a Louder Than Life or an Epicenter, man. I mean, how do you choose whether to do an intro on a record? Is it just kind of like the vibe of it makes sense, or is it like an instrumental piece that like it didn't really fit with any lyrics, but it was that good? Or I mean, because it really sets the tone for what's coming.
Yeah, so like I said, we each brought in 3 songs, so we actually wrote 9 songs for the record.
Okay.
But what we decided was that What the Dead Men Say was going to have an intro. Once we decided that was like the first song, because we didn't kind of want to do an intro, but we weren't sure what it was going to be. And you know, sometimes you can write a piece that's kind of its own thing, and then it goes into the second song or whatever. But with this one, we actually wrote the full song together. So the intro and What the Dead Men Say were all one piece as we were writing it. So what we did is we decided that, you know, with the way things are now with streaming and stuff, that it would be wise to kind of have What the Dead Men Say kind of start closer to the singing part of it, and that if you were like, you know, if you want to listen to the full song, you start with the intro, you know, but in terms of like people discovering the band, you know, it was nice to kind of get right into the vocals soon with like the second track, which is like, you know, when it goes on a playlist, okay, it gets right into the music. But, you know, we wanted the intro, we wanted to kind of play the intro, which is like a thing we're going to do live, which is instead of just a playback of the intro, it'll be like, you know, the clean part might be a playback, and then the full band kicks in, which is something we've never done live for an intro, which that'll be really fun. I think, you know, once we can actually start getting out there, that was always something I wanted to do. And our A&R guy actually kind of gave us that idea. He, I remember he mentioned kind of offhand, like, hey, what if you guys played the intro? And I kind of thought about it. I'm like, well, we've never really done anything like that. So that'd be kind of a cool, to like, you know, have a thing where we come out and we're like kind of jamming and playing this part. And then when it kicks into the song, you know, like, we'll have been out there playing this intro. It just kind of, like, I could imagine us playing it and doing that. So that was kind of like what sold me on it.
Oh, that's awesome! I can't wait to see that, man. And speaking of like live and the live experience, you were on socials recently. I can't remember when it was. It may have been earlier this week or last week, but you're talking about the Synced Lyric app for Apple Music and how when you listen to it, it shows the lyrics. I mean, that is just, dude, that's genius, because that's going to add to the live experience for the fans that much more. Because by the time you guys get on the road, whenever that may be again, fans are getting. It's always tough with new music because sometimes fans know the lyrics, sometimes they don't. Yeah. And I mean, was that something you guys had in mind specifically for like the live aspect of everything?
Like just
doing like
knowing.
Yeah, like the lyric app, so that when people listen to it, they know the lyrics, they see it. Was that designed for the shows?
That was, that one's definitely, that was an Apple Music thing that they came up with, which I think is really a great feature. I know on Spotify, I'm a Spotify user, so like they have the Genius app that has some of the lyrics and tidbits on like the songwriting and all that kind of stuff, but like, you know, it's definitely much easier to find the lyrics to songs now. And I think it's going to be very interesting, like, whenever we do get back out on tour, like, this record will have been out for a bit, and it'll be the first time ever where, like, we put out a record and just didn't immediately tour for it, and people will have a lot of time to listen and sit with it. So it's, like, definitely a delayed process of what we normally do, but, I mean, this is 9 records, so I guess I'm curious to see how it plays out, you know, and especially if it becomes like a fan favorite. I'm assuming that people are going to want to hear a lot more new stuff. Yeah. You know, that's kind of what we ran into with the last record. We came out and we were very conservative with how many songs we put from the new record into the set, and people were like, you need to play more new stuff, and so we had to start adding stuff, start adding more new ones.
Nice. That's because when you guys have been around as long as you have, and you obviously changed the style direction a little bit a few years ago. I mean, I was talking to Joey from Theory of a Deadman the other day about the same thing, and it's got to be refreshing when you switch a style that much, even a little bit, to have fans fall in love with the new direction and want to hear the new stuff too. I mean, it doesn't always work that way. So, I mean, it's got to be validating when fans want the new music as much as they have been. I mean, that's got to be a good feeling.
Well, I think, like, as you grow, when you make changes, like, I think they're natural growth to the band sound as opposed to, like, just a forced change. It usually works a lot better. And I think it's just, like, you know, when people hear us now, it's like, you know, Matt, as a singer, he's a great singer, and it's become a lot more of a focal point to have more melody in our vocals, you know, but like there is a lot of screaming and intensity still, and the music doesn't need to sacrifice any of that intensity. And I feel like that's one thing we learned over the years of experimenting, was that Trivium doesn't need to sacrifice any intensity in the music, you know, but the melody and the vocals is you know, if you can nail the vocal melody and still have the intensity in music, I'm like, that's kind of like a game changer for any band. I mean, you know, you think about like great bands like, you know, Metallica or Pantera, it's like, well, they're melodic, you know, over all this like heavy music, and it works. And if you can be catchy and still heavy, I'm like, that's kind of the key. You know, anything that for me personally as a fan, like I'm just drawn to anything that's catchy and heavy. That always is something I'm going to be into.
Yeah, and this record kind of encapsulates different styles that you guys have done. You've got the heavy stuff with Matt screaming and all that stuff, and then you've got the more melodic, the direction you started going on Vengeance Falls, and then it just kind of, it's a really good diverse collection of each style you guys have kind of had over the years, and there's something for every generation of Trivium fan on this record. I mean, it's good. So, I mean, I wanted to ask. I mean, this is the second full album with Alex on drums, obviously, and being, you and him being the rhythm, basically, him on drums, you on bass. How has that relationship evolved since he came in, and how has it kind of grown with this being the second record?
I mean, Alex's playing is just phenomenal, and he, incredible metal drummer, but, he has a real, well-rounded ability with his playing and his styles. And, for me, the exciting part as a songwriter is just, figuring out, new ways to incorporate things into the sound that, were never there before. And, one of the best places to do that is definitely with drumming. And I feel like, for a couple records, kind of after Travis and Nick were out of the band, I kind of definitely got a lot more involved in, drumming ideas, just kind of, with the records and stuff like that. And with Alex, it's kind of been refreshing to kind of step back from the drum stuff, and I like to throw out ideas to him in the rehearsal room as we're playing, and, as he's kind of, vibing off the riffs, and I'll be like, hey, what if we did something crazy like this or that, and just to see what he can do. And, it's just, like I said, in your bedroom, you can sit down and you can do a million ideas on your own, but you'll never top what, having a couple people in a room working on ideas can do. And with Alex, it's having this whole new ability in our songwriting, and it's it's pushing everyone, I think, to just want to write better and to just be better players, because he's such a great player himself.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's got to help knowing that. Obviously he comes from a heavy background, the bands he's been in the past, so that helps because he can play the older material now too. That helps.
It's great.
I wanted to ask,
it opens up a lot of stuff with the set list even, diving back into older material and stuff like that.
Yes, definitely. And going on tour, obviously with everything going on right now, everything's on hold. I haven't seen any announcements for the most part or anything like that now, but the summer tour right now that was booked. What are we looking at on that? Is it on, have you heard anything on that? Is it still planning on going forward as is? What's up?
All I know is that it's going to happen at some point. Okay. So, if it moves, it moves. I think the tour is too big not to, have happen. It'd be kind of a bummer to be like, well, here's this cool tour, and then, it goes away. But, of course, we're all just dealing with the reality of the situation, and there's two legs of the tour, so, the one coming up is going to be the question mark, and it's really going to be Live Nation that makes the call for when it would move to. The second leg starts in October, so we have a little more time. Yeah. And maybe a couple months, we'll get a good idea of, what the plan is for dealing with all this stuff. That's kind of the thing that we just don't have. No one has any idea. It's kind of how can you make plans when you don't even know the full reality of the situation? So
we don't want to cancel anything.
Things are going to have to get back to things are going to get back to normal at some point. Yeah. But in between, we're going to have to make do with what we can. And the big thing we wanted to our release week, we wanted to do a couple things that just ended up not being possible with. Right. Alex lives in California, I live in Chicago, so we couldn't travel in to be together to do some of the stuff we wanted, and it's a bummer, but, it is what it is, and again, it's the music's going to have to really do most of the talking, and, when we can get back together and, maybe do some of the plans we had, that'll be cool, and then hopefully touring will get back to normal at some point.
Yeah, the last thing anyone wants to do is cancel something right now and then come to you May or June, everything's back to normal, and then you could have done it. But what's the fall look like for you guys? Hopefully, obviously there's the summer tour bleeding over into the fall. Anything else going on this fall that we can talk about right now or anything, or is everything pretty much what's out there is what's happening right now?
Yeah, what we've announced, with the Megadeth Lamb of God tour, that's pretty much everything that's set in stone. Gotcha. We had a festival in Orlando that as of now is still on. I don't really know. I haven't heard anything about that.
Gotcha.
the winter time, I don't know. Like, we've talked about some stuff that we were going to possibly do, but it's like, again, it's like, I don't know how far.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of things are probably on hold in terms of like, well, maybe better to wait and see before we announce anything new. And,
right.
But we do have some other stuff that we're planning in Europe for early next year that was originally in the works anyway. So it's something we don't have to worry about right now. So we're still moving ahead with that as to what's going to happen. So, we'll adjust as things change. But hopefully there'll be something that can change the situation and, help things out.
Fingers crossed, man, because we're hoping to see you guys here in Noblesville this summer. You guys, Lamb of God, Megadeth, In Flames, man, it's one hell of a tour. So we're hoping to see you guys this summer, and hopefully we'll.
Yeah, definitely.
Good luck with the album release in a few weeks, man. The album kicks ass. And thanks for the time, man. Definitely, man. Thanks for the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it, man. We'll talk soon.